Hi, hello and welcome. My name is the Alpha Female and you're listening to TurnBuckle Talk.
Whoa! G'day, mateys. Bushwhacker Luke here, 2015 Hall of Famer, and you're listening to TurnBuckle Talk. Yeah! Whoa!
This is pro wrestling's only modern-day Viking Gunner, and you're on Turnbuckle Talk.
Hey, this is Nick Magnus Tollers, and you're listening to TurnBuckle Talk.
Hi, this is Leva Blue Pants Bates, and you are listening to TurnBuckle Talk.
Hey, this is Jeff Jarrett, the king of the mountain and founder of Global Force Wrestling, and you're listening to TurnBuckle Talk. Hey, fellas, you guys have a great day, and this is only because I'm talking to Canadians. It is actually spitting snow in Tennessee.
See? Oh my God!
That's a great. We've had 70-degree weather here. We've really had a warm December, and I get on the phone with damn Canadians, and we're spitting snow. So.
Well, here we are, guys. 400 episodes. This is the 400th episode of TurnBuckle Talk. I am Chris Best. I've got OMD and special guest, the one and only Chris Parrish, with us today. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Oh, doing very well. Dreading the weather that is supposed to hit again tonight. But we'll have to just wait and see how it unfolds, because it was supposed to hit last night too.
I'm doing very great. Thanks for having me on, and I just want to give an extra thank you to Carl Carafel for not only being the creator of TurnBuckle Talk, but also allowing me to be a part of the 400th episode.
Yeah, a big thank you to Carl for all the work he's done for our show, for this show. The work he's done behind the scenes for this show, it cannot be left unsaid, obviously.
No,
I'm trying to think of I had myself a little bit of a scenario yesterday, and or today I should say, and I kind of wanted your guys' opinions on it. So the power button on my cell phone had broken off, and of course I tried to go to the 3 cell phone repair shops that I know of that are in town, all of them at the Station Mall. Every single one of them said no, and it left me very frustrated. So I'm trying to figure out what my next step is. Do I go to my cell phone provider to see if they can help me fix it, or what?
I would say, yeah, go to your cell phone provider. I know there's another cell phone provider just around the corner from me, or not a provider, but another cell phone repair place. There's numerous of them popping up in town now. But yeah, I would go and see your cell phone provider. Good evening, Big Joe. Thank you for popping in. And
Big Joe saying that Carl and him created TurnBuckle Talk. Yes, Joe. Big thank you for that as well.
Yes. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, on your phone thing, yeah, I mean, just call around, find anybody who can fix it, and if not, you might have to go and look into possibly just seeing if you can get a replacement. Yeah,
that's an option I don't want to go down, because that's just going to mean more money onto my bill, because I pay for the tab service on my phone, and I know that there's already $200 on my tab left there. But yeah, that if that's an option I have to explore, then that's where I'm going to have to go.
Do you have the insurance on your phone?
I can't remember if I do or not. I looked and I couldn't see it, but I also don't really remember how to read my phone bill. So,
speaking of on the bill, what is on the bill for today?
Well, that's where we're going to go to next, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime. Plagued with some injuries over this weekend. We know of, or at least we thought we knew of, the injury for Jacob Fatu, but turns out Jacob Fatu is actually fine. Bronson Reed is now injured. Jade Cargill was injured before the show. She's taking that 3 months off, and that's where I want to clarify with Jade Cargill, because there's been actually conflicting reports on her and the injury she suffered, and it's clear she's done for 3 months. We don't know the extent of her injury still. They're keeping hush hush on that one. But when it comes to Bronson Reed, it is suspected that he broke his ankle. However, he's going for more tests. But Sheamus's injury, I don't know where he would have gotten injured in the match, but they're not revealing his injury too. And I'm wondering if we're just waiting for more information so that we can get some clarification on their injuries or what. There's no timetable for either Bronson or Sheamus's return either. What do you guys think of that?
Well, they did divulge last night on Raw that it was Sheamus's rib and it is cracked.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I did watch the replay of Raw. Kaiser took the credit in saying a rib for a rib. But we don't know where it happened. It could have happened on any of the spears that he took. Bronson Reed, from what I had read, it was originally suspected that he had sprained both ankles when he did the tsunami off the top of the Wargames cell. But now if it's coming out that it is a broken ankle, I can absolutely see it, which was why they apparently rushed Drew McIntyre's return last night.
Well,
and
go ahead.
And as for Jade, yeah, this was something that I've been seeing conflicting reports for about a week. One saying it was a legitimate injury that they had her written off for. Others saying that it was a kayfabe to tease tension for her and Bianca. I really think that we're leaning more towards the official injury. Again, we don't know what it is. They haven't said. But yes, she is out through at least the end of the year to heal from the report I read today.
Yeah, I know Brian Alvarez reported and clarified that it is just the one ankle on Bronson Reed that is being looked at for further evaluation. They are still not sure what the extent of the injury is. They just know it is one of the two ankles and not both. Nobody knows for sure if it's broken or if it's just sprained or what. Again, the severity of it is not yet known. So I think it's safe to say that there's going to be a good chunk of, at the very least, December for Bronson Reed to be away. And with Netflix being the start of the next year, I don't see why you just don't have him come back on that one if plausible. If not, we have the Royal Rumble. It's always a great time for people to return. As for Jade, I think right now, again, when you don't know anything, you can just run wild on the speculation, and it's not right to say anything specific until you actually do find something. But at the end of the day, they're running with the situation with the attack angle that they are doing on SmackDown. So whenever she is ready to go, I think that's going to help provide a little bit more speculation and involvement on that angle, which could help really bring more clarification to the storyline. And that's going to be a fun little thing to watch every Friday on SmackDown. And then Sheamus cracked rib, I expect him to be out probably 6 days, and he's probably back on Monday. It's Sheamus. That guy fights through anything and everything. I'm sure December's probably more or less going to be a month where a lot of talent are probably told to, hey, if you're banged up or you're hurt or anyway, let us know now. This is a great month to kind of allow us to kind of just leave you off so you can be healed and we can go back into the new year ready to roll with everyone as close to 100% as possible.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense too, especially with all the guys who are hurt right now. Just having those taped Raws and then you get that nice holiday break. Yeah, you're going to come back. And sure, Sheamus may not be like 100%. He'll probably be like 75, 80%. But even during that time, he can still take, when he comes back, he could do just limited things in the ring and still build himself back to 100% anyway. Same thing for Bronson Reed as well. And even Jade Cargill, if they depending on what the extent of her injury actually is.
Well, I can tell you one thing. If a wrestler says they're good to go, they're not doing 75 to 80%. They're going to do as much as they can. They're either good to go or they're not. It's black or white. There's no percentages when it comes to wrestlers. We either can go or we can't. And that's going to be the end of the story, really, on that in terms of a wrestler's point of view. I mean, all athletes are kind of like that. If you're a competitor, you just want to know, can you do it? Cool. Because if the doctor says yes, hey, you're doing as much as you want.
Yep.
Your body will dictate whether or not you can or can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of wrestlers who are hopefully looking to get cleared, last night we saw one of the biggest angles, dare I say, of the year, with the New Day 10-year celebration thing, where we saw the New Day turn on Big E and kick him out of the stable. Now, his girlfriend took to Twitter and just started kind of like fueling the fire, as it were, between the three men and keeping kayfabe alive. And I gotta say, I kind of appreciated that she did that. But do we see from this angle, is this a way to bring Big E back to the ring?
I think it might be for a, spot appearance in the Rumble. I don't think it would be on a full-time basis yet until we get more clearance on and notification on how his rehabilitation is going. What I would actually find funny, given that Big E's girlfriend is Mia Yim Meechin's sister, is if WWE could get Keith Lee back into the fold and healthy and bring him back to feud with the New Day.
Well, first off, I think it all goes back to what we were saying earlier about the injury and at what extent does it take on Big E's career? Is he able to come back? Xavier Woods flat out said in the promo and in that segment, let's just say the truth, you're never coming back. And Big E only said he would be there in the upcoming weeks, every week, to serve as a manager. In his words, he said, serve as your managers. So even through those words, it doesn't sound like there's an immediate expectation that Big E is going to be in the ring. Whether or not he is, and they're just, playing this up,
right,
we have to watch and find out. I'm sure if every wrestling fan who adores Big E or even just wants to see him available again in the ring, they want to see him back. Nobody wants to see somebody's career end the way Big E's does. And with that segment happening yesterday, it touched on so many heartstrings because you just did not expect that, with the group calling themselves the Power of Positivity almost all the time for the better part of those 10 years. They brought out all the negativity towards Big E. And like you said, like it's nice to see the, social media kind of take up to it, whether it was Meechin's sister, who is the real life girlfriend of Big E, Mia Yim, and also Xavier Woods got into it as well. It fuels that kind of thing, but I think the expectations of Big E back in a ring immediately probably should be a little low, unless and obviously this is always a thing. The company knows more than we do. So I'll say this. I think we all hope that it leads to him being back in the ring. I don't know if it's safe to have your expectations set up for him to be back in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, right. I even saw the Hurricane today posted on social media chastising Big E, saying, I broke my neck and I came back. Speaking of other injured competitors, Adam Copeland over in AEW has been cleared and ready to go. He is just wrapping up filming season 2 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians before he makes his return to AEW.
Okay, that has nothing to do with Big E, though.
He was another guy who broke his neck and came back.
Yeah, true. Tommaso Ciampa, another guy who broke his neck and came back, because he even posted that on Twitter.
Right.
I mean, but at the same time, though, I mean, people can like. I know you're saying off screen how much you enjoyed the people playing into it. I'm kind of disappointed with some of the people coming in and saying, well, I broke my neck and came back too. Like, why all of a sudden are people just dumping on Big E all of a sudden? And that's kind of like, I don't know, like, why? Like, what's the point of somebody like the Hurricane saying that? What's the point of Ciampa saying that when he has no one involved? I just don't understand why there's this dumping on Big E because, oh, they broke their neck. And we all know not all issues are the same. And
right.
We all don't know how emotionally distraught this happened to Big E, which he's gone on record saying he was depressed a lot during his time away, and I can speak from volumes when you're not in the firm belief that your confidence of even coming back is there. It's going to affect your rehabilitation and your eagerness to get back in the ring, and you're going to question yourself, and you're not going to be sure. And when the prognosis isn't exactly where you want, and I'm sure Big E's prognosis has been up and down, I don't know if he's exactly in a mental health or mental space, or just even a headspace to even come back. Whether or not he wants to, that's a whole different ballgame, whole different question. Whether he's in the headspace to, that I think is the most important question to ask, and only he can answer that.
Yeah.
I believe if and when he can, he will obviously be in that right headspace. Do we see him, as I suggested, maybe in that potential one-off spot in the Rumble, comes in, eliminates the New Day, and then jumps out or gets eliminated himself just for that?
But see, even that could be dangerous, because who knows how many guys will be in the ring, right? And one bad bump and it's all over,
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm more on the belief that if he's already willing to serve as a manager to someone, maybe he serves as a manager of a tag team to feud with Kofi and Xavier Woods. But I'll also raise you guys this. What if this is a long-term story where we end up seeing Big E eventually serve as the manager for a heel version of Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, and Big E turns on the fans the same way that Xavier and Kofi turned on him?
I mean, Xavier and Kofi did swerve us the week before with that argument, so
I mean, the phrase "expect the unexpected" is never been more true with the product of WWE. Right? As much as we wanted the New Day to not break up, or maybe we wanted to see Xavier Woods go on his own, the last thing people expected was Kofi and Xavier to brush off Big E the way they did.
Yeah. Now, could we see in the eventuality, come Raw on Netflix, could we see Big E come out and manage the Usos against the New Day in that role reversal now, where the Usos are the baby faces and the New Day are the heels?
That could be an interesting look, but there was also another look that I saw, and I'm going to credit Sportskeeda for this opinion article that I saw. What if Big E manages Obafemi?
I could see it.
And they bring in, I don't know who else you would bring in with Oba to possibly feud with the New Day. Maybe you bring back Odyssey Jones. I know Odyssey's not coming back.
I'm going to suggest a guy who's being underutilized on SmackDown. and that's Apollo Crews.
And let's not forget the history between Big E and Apollo Crews, as they had a match at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship. They have gone to war with one another, and sometimes when you go to war with someone, mutual respect is earned between those people. So again, it's going to be unknown to see what goes on. I also will pose this question. Do we really want to see Big E back in the form of a managerial role, or do we want to see Big E back in the ring? And I question that with, do you want to see Big E back in the role you didn't exactly expect, or are you okay remembering Big E in a completely different role, opposed to the role Big E always wanted to begin with? And I think that is something now we also have to look into.
Right.
See, I'd be fine with whatever Big E takes on. I've always liked him, even when he was doing the stuff with Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee before he joined the New Day. I always wanted something big out of him, pun intended.
Right.
So when I read that he was on the verge of being released before the New Day even came about, I was so happy that they found that for him, you know?
Yeah.
Or I should say they found that for each other, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I would be okay with either. I have been pushing for the idea of Big E in a managerial capacity. And I mean, we all know, and we've discussed it here, you know, you get that itch when you're around the ring. But we also understand that if that's what he does, who's to say he cannot take lessons from a guy like a Paul Heyman on how to become great at it?
Mm-hmm.
I'll raise you guys another scenario, because on his episode of Chris Van Vliet interview, Nick Aldis has reported saying that he wants to lace up the boots again, and he would welcome another run if presented, and that he doesn't feel like he's finished with his in-ring career. Could it be a potential possibility of Nick Aldis trading the suit for his gear and maybe seeing Big E as a potential general manager of SmackDown role?
Oh, that would be so much fun to see him do that.
I like it. However, I'm already getting Teddy Long vibes.
Okay, they're not all the same, man.
And he's not going to make everybody go one-on-one with The Undertaker.
Yeah, he can't.
No,
he's retired.
He'll make everyone go one-on-one with Kevin Owens.
No, he'll make everyone go one-on-one with Braun Breaker, as he'll draft him. But no, I mean, I think too right now. I mean, and this is also, let's be honest too. The role that Big E has as an analyst with WWE, he's been doing a fantastic job. The insight that he's providing as a wrestler who doesn't, like, just a former wrestler, like, that is something that is good. Like, he's given you that emotional impact, a logical sense to why it fits, and it's an out of the box type of thought too, and it's different and it's refreshing to have on that panel. So is there really a need to move him away from what he's doing? I don't think so. In fact, I would let the tag team Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston right now just cook a little bit on their own, because the heat they got and the boos they got at the end, that was an organic, natural reaction type of boo, and that is very rare to get, especially in a segment where I read had no producers attached to it, and that was just the three of them with Nick Aldis as well. So if that's them just doing their jobs their way, I mean, let this cook. And I say let it cook without Big E because I want to see kind of now how the resurgence of the tag team of Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston goes.
Yeah.
So now that we're on Kofi and Xavier, who do you give them as their first feud?
Probably, I mean, you can go with almost anyone on the babyface side. I know I mentioned yesterday on the Raw Patrol, we easily could see something with the Wyatt Six.
Yeah.
Now, could we see Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston give help to the Final Testament, as we've seen recency with that potential? Maybe. I'm going to say no, but at the same time, there is that in the back for that. But this is also something where if you want to see who they can go with, I mean, the War Raiders are right there. Yep. We have two people who are in the same boat. They're people who aren't blood-related brothers, but brothers nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And they would never have done that to Big E. Right. And that maybe they take exception of it. And I think I would welcome the War Raiders taking exception of what Xavier Woods and Kofi did to Big E.
Yeah, no, another possibility I thought about to further establish them as heels, right off the get-go, you can give them Tozawa and Otis, you know?
You took the words right out of my mouth. The newly renamed Alpha Babes.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'll say this: do we really want to make Tozawa and Otis really a put-over act? Is that really what you want to do? Yeah, and that's exactly the thing. I think right now they could be moved to NXT, and we could see maybe somebody come up just to give them an opportunity to kind of bring themselves back up. I would welcome that 100%. Or maybe we see in the next draft, we see more tag teams come to Raw, because right now it seems like it's a very heel-heavy tag team division.
Yeah, I was going to say it feels very heel-heavy on Raw and babyface-heavy over on SmackDown, if I'm being honest.
Well, and I was going to say this, and I'm going to look at a team that is technically a heel team, but they're sort of in between, and I'm going to suggest Pretty Deadly come over to feud.
You know, I can actually see Pretty Deadly turning babyface.
I was going to say Street Profits would be perfect, because they're on the kind of that verge too, and you can have DIY and Motor City Machine Guns carry that tag team picture right there. Have Street Profits come in with Xavier and Kofi, and then you could have them with the War Raiders carry the tag team picture over on Raw.
I mean, Bobby Stats is coming in here with an interesting one too, saying, how about the Creed brothers as well? I mean, right now with what they're doing with the Creeds, it kind of feels like they could be very well on that verge of going babyface.
Yeah, again, like that's why I think the tag team division right now, there's so many potential gems in what they're doing. It's just now, how do we row the gems in a perfect way where the crown looks iconic? And I think that's kind of how we want to do it. Right now, there is a lot of pieces in place, but we don't know what the final puzzle looks like. And I think that is now what WWE has to basically dictate and decide on.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see. And I've even, as we were looking when we mentioned NXT, I saw Axiom and Nathan Frazier on my screen. Even bringing them up for a little one-off feud would be interesting for the New Day as well.
Yeah, and then there's Hank and Tank as well, which I think would be a fun act. But again, the potential and the possibilities are high. It's just a matter of, how do we? I think just to roll back to the original story, how do we maintain Xavier and Kofi in this momentum now they have, because they have definitely reshaped what they mean as a tag team in that division. Once they were looked at as the forgotten tag team, the forgotten act, the act that we're just not used to. Now they're the hot act. Now we want to see what they do next. And Big E or no Big E, they're cooking, and we're going to tune in next week wanting to see what they do next. Are they going to be named the New Day? Are they going to be named something else? Do they have a new identity? And that's going to be what's very intriguing moving forward. Another tag team, Gallows and Anderson, I think could be a fantastic option that everyone seems to forget. I know Anderson probably not right away, but it's something that I think with Big E, whenever he can come back, I'm sure he will. I just hope it's what he wants to do and what he feels good, because I think right now, I don't know if I'm ready to let go of the memories of Big E, the professional wrestler, with Big E, the manager, or Big E, something in a role that maybe they just give him because he can't do the other one. I really hope it's a natural fit on whatever he chooses to do next, but ultimately he's in the headspace moving forward to do it.
Yeah. If we're going to look at a call-up tag team, what about a team like the D'Angelo family?
I could see that. We got Bubba coming in and saying that he's saying that within a year the Creed brothers will have the tag titles. I'm in that same boat too, dude.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Bobby Sorry.
No, I was saying I'm hoping that the Creeds have the tag belts.
Yeah. Bobby Stats coming in saying even Gallus as well. Gallus would be actually really interesting. I think they're going to be one of the tag team call-ups coming up at the next draft. But let's move on. Let's move on from Big E. We did a lot of talking about him and talk about what's going to be free for the remainder of the month for those of you in Ireland and the UK. They're getting WWE Network for the final month for free. And this kind of annoys me, given that we're Canadian, and we should get it free too.
I say this, we give you Chelsea Green. You can't give us 28 days of free network. How dare you? The gems that we provide for that company, they just can't give us 4 weeks. That's all we ask. 4 weeks. That's all that's left in the year.
Yep.
No.
It's kind of interesting that it comes after Survivor Series, though.
Yeah. All you get is maybe one show in Saturday night's main event, and that's about it. But at the same time, it's something, and good for the people overseas, too. It's a good way to keep involvement and ensure that maybe those are the people that are subscribed to Netflix. I haven't done any research on this, but my guess is maybe subscriptions in those areas for Netflix aren't as high as it is in maybe Canada and other countries. So this is the way for WWE to reach out to those markets and to bring them over to Netflix following the year end into 2025. I think that could be a fantastic marketing play.
Yeah, I was going to say it may be that network subscriptions are down over there, and if as you are making this transition to Netflix, and the network will be moving over there as well, is this a way that you do increase those subscriptions for both Netflix and the network? And is there going to be an additional cost for the network on Netflix?
Yeah, that's the one thing I haven't seen yet as far as Netflix over here. I haven't yet to see price points, but I got to assume it's the $20 tier that'll get you the network, maybe.
And keep in mind, the network is tiered over here.
I wouldn't know because I had the network where I could access it on the app or through cable. So, but yeah, I think actually this is not a bad move for those in the UK and Ireland, especially for those who are maybe they're on the fence about getting Netflix, and now they can see all the product that they would be missing out on if they didn't subscribe, or the product that they will be getting if they do subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nonetheless, it's hopefully like I said, like this is just a way to bring those fans over to Netflix and watch the WWE on Netflix moving forward. Do we know if UK, Ireland, if everything for them is on Netflix like it is in Canada, or
Yes.
is it different with television?
Everywhere outside of the US, everything is going to Netflix.
Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah, I think again, just like Parachute had said, this has got to be some kind of marketing ploy to showcase what they're going to be missing, because as it stands right now in the UK and Ireland, they are not accepting new subscriptions right now, and that's why the Netflix that's why the network subscription is free.
Yeah.
Right. I do know, I did read that Netflix is going to be offering some WWE stuff prior to the launch of Raw on the 6th. There's going to be stuff on different superstars, whether it's like a biography leading up to the full Raw debut on January 6th. When that starts, I don't know.
January 1st, everything is going to Netflix.
I've even heard that it's going before the new year, so that they're going to start running tests and giving us a little bit.
But yeah, what do you say? So now that we've got all the news on what's going on with Netflix, I think it's actually pretty cool that they're getting it. But let's talk. We got a little bit of time still before
up to the full Raw debut on January.
All the news on what's going on with. Hey, OMD, you have an echo.
I do.
But let's move on. We saw last night the brackets for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and let's go over this bracket because I kind of want to get your guys' predictions on this one. Now, last night we saw Dakota Kai advance over Katana Chance and Shayna Baszler. But as well in this bracket, we've got Zoe Stark, Raquel Rodriguez, and Kaden Carter going at it. Lyra Valkyria, Zelina Vega, and Ivy Nile will also have a match. That's going to be on next week's Raw. Alba Fire, Kairi Sane, and Natalia is in the other bracket. So, gentlemen, who do you guys got taking this one, and how do we get to that moment?
I have Lyra Valkyria winning, if not Natty winning, and they get to that moment by winning their matches. So, I mean, you served it up.
I've got the final is going to be Dakota Kai versus Lyra. I do believe that we are going. I think that Ivy Nile and Zelina Vega are going to cancel each other out because of the feud between American Made and LWO that's going on, leaving that open for Lyra to take it. As far as who is it? Zoe Stark, Kaden Carter, and
Raquel Rodriguez.
I got to say Raquel. I'm going to take Raquel because I think they want to try and maybe look at that power trip with Raquel as that Intercontinental Champion, as Liv Morgan's heater.
So you say Raquel advances over Dakota Kai because Zoe Stark, Raquel Rodriguez, Kaden Carter, who wins in that match, they advance to fight Dakota Kai.
You got to let me finish. Because let's not forget that Dakota Kai and Raquel do have history in NXT and Dakota turned on Raquel. And I'm just putting up a situation that I think they might be looking at, but I do want Dakota in the final. So I would put Dakota over Raquel. And I think Natty, as you guys have alluded to, the Neidhart name synonymous with the Intercontinental title. I don't think you can not put her into the semifinals against Lyra.
I think too, like with your qualification matches or your quarterfinal matches, they're all the triple threats. And the one thing we know about that is we can see interference, and it doesn't dictate the finish of the match or the winner of the match, because you don't get disqualifications in triple threats.
Right.
The Rhea Ripley factor is one I think to look into that match, because Rhea Ripley very well could be the reason why Rodriguez doesn't win the match, but also doesn't get beat.
Right.
And I know. You're like, well, you could do that and help Dakota Kai because I'm a fan of Dakota Kai. I know you were thinking that. And I'm going to say, but I think in the one-on-one match form, that could serve dangerously depending on how it is.
Right.
We've already seen Raquel Rodriguez kind of mistimed a interference, and it caused a finish of the match when it wasn't exactly intentional.
Right.
So that's why I think it's more likely that we see maybe Katana or Kaden Carter, I think, could very well be your winner in this match, because she very well could get the pinfall. And no, I don't think Dakota Kai faces her stablemate, but
well, see, and I know
maybe, but
I know looking last night, the little bit on Raw Talk that I did see, we saw a very frustrated Katana Chance when Lyra came in and tried to be positive, and it ticked off both Caden and Katana, maybe leading to that heel turn. Are they going to come out and try and maybe cost Lyra next week?
I don't think we're going to play into that yet. Again, I the last time I checked, I don't see a lot of Raw Talk segments really determining a big turn right away. Usually there's still more to go into something like that, unless Kaden Carter does lose, Lyra does win, and then she again tries to be positive, and they have that second backstage, and then the two who lost, that's when they can get frustrated. Yeah, that's where I can understand maybe they do something, but down the road. But I think it's easier for that turn to be settled if something positive actually happens to Lyra, and then there's jealousy coming out of both Kaden Carter and Katana Chance.
I do like those scenarios you guys have painted out there.
No, I do have Dakota versus Lyra in the final, and I will put the belt on Lyra.
I still think they messed up by not having Lyra and Natty in the final. Could have like a movement of the guard here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that one, Parrish. I really am. But now that I know who Natty's taking on, as much as I do want to see Natty go on, Alba Fire's kind of a dark horse in this match. So I wouldn't mind if she advanced over Natty in that match either.
Yeah. And we've ruled out that potentially there could be something similar, like a Jade Cargill situation where somebody does get hurt or somebody is angled to be hurt and have to forfeit their spot because, as you say, Alba Fire's in there. Where's Isla Dawn? Isla Dawn's not in there. So maybe we see an Isla Dawn inclusion in this tournament down the line. I don't know.
Right.
But to put fuel in the fire now, I can see if Natalya loses, Kaden Carter loses, Katana Chance loses, Lyra does not lose. She wins. She tries to be positive to the 3. Now we have a potential faction of the Casey's and Natty that could take on Lyra and whoever.
Right. And as we talked about, as you guys have alluded to, with that potential interference, you could also see one entire match get wiped out, and that thus making your finals a triple threat to get Natty in there.
I mean, normally not a fan of that kind of situation, but it is possible for that to happen. The one thing I'm happy about as I'm looking at this is this this tournament is going to showcase not just your tag team women, because there's a lot of tag team women in this tournament, but who your mid-card women talent will be in this match. And the way I see it, again, just like the Women's United States title tournament, this is going to present a list of possible contenders to that Intercontinental title crown for whomever wins it as well.
Yep.
I mean, I think that, I mean, all in all, I just hope what we do get at the end of the day is that when the finals do come upon us, and whoever it is in that, we see purity when it comes to the in-ring action. We don't see any tomfoolery that dictates who loses, who wins. We just see a straight up, honest, pure wrestling match that dictates the winner of the inaugural women's U.S. and Intercontinental Championships, because these are moments that are historic within not just wrestling, but WWE. And it's something that now all of a sudden there are now 5 different sets of titles for women when you include the women's tag and the 2 women's worlds and now the 2 mid-card women's championships. That's pretty unprecedented for a company that's on television every week. And just seeing what these titles represent and the opportunity, especially with Raw and SmackDown hitting 3 hours in the new year, we're going to get a lot more women's action, and it's going to be fantastic to see what this does for the product and for the progression of women's wrestling.
Yeah, the one thing I know we're going to see in both these tournaments is a lot of show-stopping moments.
On his feet. Oh my God in heaven!
And ladies and gentlemen, that obviously is our Showstopper segment. We have reached 400 episodes for this. I wanted to take the moment for all of us to share our memories, our favorite moments of doing TurnBuckle Talk, starting with you, OMD.
You know, I never would have put myself into doing podcasting, getting into this. You know, Carl and Joe back in the day invited me along to be there to do some of the guest interviews with guys like Santino Marella, Nick Aldis, Gunner. And then there was another time that Carl reached out to me. This was a few years ago, what really triggered the itch because he needed somebody to come in and talk on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So couldn't be more grateful for Carl and for Joe for giving me those opportunities in the early days, to Carl for bringing me back on board into this, for everything with TurnBuckle Studios, because we have a family here. If it weren't for this, I never would have met Parrish. You and I would never have reconnected.
Oh, I think we would have.
Other than for the Odd Wrestling Show. And Bubba and I wouldn't be, you know, brothers in arms now as opposed to where we were 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fantastic for me to be here with you guys. I mean, it's a shame that Carl couldn't be here. I'm still missing his creepy face on the screen, but, you know, we need it. But how about for you, Parrish?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't appear a lot on this broadcast, and that's why I'm just very humbled and grateful to be a part of this historic episode. But I actually did, and I was given the opportunity, I believe it was the 300th episode, to pop on and just join Carl, because he did it by himself, I remember. And it's one of those things where sadly, like, circumstances have happened, and yes, both Joe and Carl were the creators of this show, and they've done such a wonderful job, not to just get it off the ground, but get it running. And now Carl has done such a great way to keep it running into a conglomerate that, it's really is now compared to then. He's had to go through so many up and downs, whether it's reconnecting channels, reconnecting people, because I remember meeting Carl when we both started with Love Wrestling, and I met Joe there as well. I met Bubba there as well. And then with our local establishment, that's where I met the both of you. And it was because of Carl, who brought you guys aboard and kind of said, hey, I got a couple guys that could come in. So there's been a lot of reconnecting. There's been a lot of just connecting. There's a lot of just bringing people together. And I think now, if you kind of remember what Turnbuckle Studios and Turnbuckle Talk kind of do, it brings people together. And that's really kind of at the 400th episode, when we look at not only the people who do watch, it's different now than it was on episode 1. The people on the show are different than there was on episode 1. But everything remains the same, and that is passion, that is enjoyment, and that is giving it everything you have to have a fun show, have a positive show, but at the end of the day, try to embrace a platform where we're connecting people and bringing people together. And that is what I think I truly take out of not just Turnbuckle Talk, but Turnbuckle Studios as a whole.
Yeah, for me, when my reaching out to Carl was when I first moved back to Sault Ste. Marie, which is where Carl, OMD, and I all live. I reached out to Carl because I knew he was doing the podcast, but I didn't know where to find it. So I reached out to Carl, and he gave me all the information. And I started listening to the show, and not going to lie, I thought it was a little bit weird. It was a little bit different. But at the same time, I liked it because I understood what Carl and Joe what their goals were with the show. And that is, of course, to report on the wrestling news that not a lot of people are hearing about these days. But when I ended up actually reconnecting with Carl on a more full-time basis, it was because of the fact that he started streaming the Raw Watch Along on Facebook. And for 2 months, he hounded me about joining him on the show, until one day I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'll message Carl. I'm gonna get in. I want to be a part of this. And of course, the first show that I did, the first Raw Watch Along, actually had you, OMD, as well, joining the show that same day.
Yep.
And it all just snowballed from there for me. But one of my favorite episodes was an episode long before I even joined, and that was the Jeff Jarrett interview. I loved the type of questions that Carl and Joe were asking him, because they were asking him questions that weren't necessarily like the generic questions that wrestlers would get in their interviews, like what's going on with this company, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. These were questions that were just more about who Jeff Jarrett is and what he is doing at that moment, which at that moment he was helping promote the movie The Masked Saint, which was filmed up here. But one of my personal favorite show episodes that myself, OMD, you had done, and I'm a little bit choking up thinking about it, and Carl, was last year when we did the Bray Wyatt, Terry Funk episode. That episode, man, still brings me to tears thinking about it.
Oh. And also let's trail back a little bit onto the history of Turnbuckle Talk, because it wasn't always Turnbuckle Talk. In fact, it began as a JK podcast with Joe and Carl. And I just want to take this time to give a shout out to both Joe and Carl for coming together and making this, because without that as an idea, without that as something that was put together, and you have to give Joe a lot of credit on this, because he was definitely the backbone to get this whole thing started to begin with. And then over the time, Carl ended up taking it over. It was an opportunity, and I think weirdly enough, it just spawned into all these things. It's created all these moments. It's created all these episodes. It's created all these discussions, and it created all these relationships. And just, as my tagline says, thank you, Carl, but also I want to take this time and say thank you, Joe, for doing all that and for, really making the road that we now get to travel on.
Yeah. Thank you both.
Yeah.
I ordered a mic for, the opportunity to do this, and I wasn't sure I was ever going to get to use it. I had Carl come over, help me set it up. And then it sat there, and it was probably 6 months before I had the opportunity to come in and do TurnBuckle Talk with Carl. And that was before I knew you were a part of doing it. And so it was just sort of, okay, I'm there as the fill-in guy. Okay, great. And it's, as you've said, it's snowballed. And I couldn't be more grateful for the friendships reborn, for the friendships that I've made through this. And Joe, Carl, thank you for giving me my start.
Yeah, and again, the first episode of TurnBuckle Talk I did, OMD, you were a part of that. It was me, you, and Carl. I don't remember the news stories. I don't remember which episode it was, but I also, when Carl instilled Carl instilled a lot of confidence in me, and the first time he had to miss out on doing a TurnBuckle Talk and had me run the show, I was so incredibly nervous.
Yeah,
I remember reaching out.
That.
I remember reaching out to I remember reaching out to Bobby Munson with help about that. And then I'm like, in retrospect, I'm like, wait a minute, why am I reaching out to him? He doesn't have anything to do with the show. And I realized that you had a little bit more experience with the show. So I kind of reached out to you for a little bit of a confidence builder. And I did the same thing for you, Parrish, because it was, again, the first time I had run that show. And I had no idea what I was doing,
Yeah, I remember that episode that, you reached out and you said, can you do the show with me tonight, OMD, because Carl's out? Yep, not a problem.
Yep.
And that's where we started that, the 15-minute pre-show conversation that just gets everything flowing.
Yeah. But on that note, we do have a special message that I'd like to play for everybody here. So let's go ahead and play that video.
Hey guys, Joe the Apple Guy here with something a little bit different for you here. I'm on TurnBuckle Talk. For those of you who are not in the know, I used to be on this podcast for quite a long time. I actually started this podcast with Carl way back when. You guys have hit 400 episodes of TurnBuckle Talk, which is quite amazing accomplishment. A lot of podcasts and shows and content creators and stuff don't make it that far. So congratulations, you guys, on hitting 400 episodes. A little brief plug for myself. If you guys are interested in Apple content, if you like technology, specifically Apple stuff, I do have my YouTube channel here as well, Joe the Apple Guy, that you can check out as well. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on that as well. So yeah, congrats on 400 episodes, guys, and I wish I could be with you there, but fortunately the day job will have me occupied for that. So I'd like to be there in person, but have a good one and enjoy the rest of the show.
That was one of the original creators of the show, Joe, giving us a congratulations for making it to 400 episodes. On that note, I want to say here's to 400 more episodes. So on that note, what do you say we give out them old socials, starting with you, OMD?
Now, the people, they can find me at my link tree, linktr.ee/OMD show.
All right. And how about you, Mr. Parrish?
Yeah, you can definitely check me out on my link tree at Chris Parrish. Making sure you're checking out the Twitch, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Instagram, and the X account, which I know some of you are on today, and I appreciate every single one of you checking us out. But you can check out the Chris Parrish podcast every Sunday at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time as we hit episode 54 this Sunday, and we get to talk about the evolution of both the United States and Intercontinental Women's Championships, among more. We'll touch more on that New Day segment, but also if everybody has an opportunity to, and if you're local in the city of Edmonton, Alberta, please go check out Beercade YEG and all their socials right there, as they have plenty of stuff going on, and they are a proud paying sponsor of the Chris Parrish podcast.
Sweet deal. All right, guys, and if you want to look for me, you can find me at my link tree, which is linktr.ee/Chris_best83. Tomorrow night, you can look for this ugly mug as we do the PlayStation Showcase, where we're going to do a little something different this month. We're going to be celebrating 30 years of PlayStation, and we're going to showcase one of the PS1's greatest games, that being Final Fantasy VII. And on that note, guys... Oh, Parrish, you've got something.
You haven't played the calendar yet. We haven't talked about the TurnBuckle affiliation program.
Okay, so
we got to plug that. So before we play the video, let's just do a quick plug of if you guys want to be a part of the next 400 episodes of TurnBuckle Talk or be a part of anything involving TurnBuckle Studios, make sure you're checking out affiliationprogram.my.canva.site, and you can register to become a newest member of the TurnBuckle affiliation program.
All right, and if you want to find out everything we've got going on for this week, just take a look at this commercial here.
TurnBuckle Studios and the TurnBuckle affiliation program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, TurnBuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we get a variety stream with the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Friday we game again with Unleashed, the Jessica Wilde story at 7 p.m. Following the game, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, as the one and only Carl Carafel would say, the world's a scary place. Take care of each other.